Hi guys, welcome to this super exciting chat today where we are going to learn about something that is ingrained in the Indian business market now. Yes, it is exactly what you're thinking. Today we are going to talk about startups. I know a lot of people who are hustling really hard to become a part of the startup culture, and I know a lot of our students are aspiring to become software developers at some of the leading startups of our country. And how do you do that? Well, today we're going to have our guest, Mr. Ravneet Sandhu, who works as a software developer engineer at Bizongo, join us and tell us everything that you need to know about joining a startup and working with a startup. So before we call him onto this live telecast, I want to know from you and our viewers as to who wants to join a startup. Why don't you guys do a thumbs up in the live video while we shortly connect with Mr. Ravneet? I'm super excited to see our viewers constantly increasing, and we're waiting for a few more viewers to join. Ravneet is going to join us very shortly. And yes, I do want to see a couple of thumbs up for people who are aspiring to join startups, leading startups like Flipkart, Bizongo, and so many more, where people are hustling every day. It's a part of becoming history at some level. And I see Abhishek Kumar, kudos to you for wanting to join some of the leading startups of our country. I see other people commenting soon. And I see the people who are joining in. Hey, Akshat, great. Um, Awesome. So I think it is time for us to invite our guest Ravneet to join us and tell us everything that you need to know about startups and working with startups in India. So let's invite Ravneet. Hi Ravneet.
Hi, Gopi.
How are
Thanks
you
for
doing?
invite. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this platform.
We're super excited, and our viewers are super excited to know more about startups from you. And I know that it's going to be a super insightful uh, view for them today.
Definitely. So, for those of you who don't know me, like almost, like all of you must not be knowing me. So, I am Ravneet Sandhu, a 2019 batch pass out from NSIT Delhi, and I was placed at Bizongo and have been working with them as a software developer engineer for almost, like, you can say it's going to be 2 years in some time. And in this session, like, I would like to share my experiences for preparations from getting placed at Bizongo and also getting evaluated at other startups during my placement season.
Awesome. I'm super excited then.
Yeah. So, like, not a lot of pointers that I have, like, briefly, just three main pointers that I will be covering in this session. And so I'll just share my screen.
While Ravneet does that, I would like to tell our viewers that Ravneet will be addressing your questions very soon. So feel free to ask him questions, and we'll be taking them up soon. Over to you, Ravneet.
Sure. Thanks, Gopi. Yeah. So, placement season, like, this is one of the most dreadful, like, every one of us dread the placement season. And now that everything has gone virtual, things have become even more difficult and different, I can say. But keep in mind, like, for all the aspirants out there, that no matter how grueling the process of evaluation at a startup is, that is an experience that you will hold to your heart for a long time in your career. And before talking about my journey at Bizongo, I would also want to share with you what can you expect about the evaluation process of various startups, and also my personal experiences of the placement season. That not all of them have been so positive. Like, there have been ups and downs, and yeah. So, and I understand that the placement season right now is not actually the same as before, because the entire, like, there is more focus on off campus placements, since there might not be a lot of companies coming into the campuses for placements and all of that. Like, the entire paradigm, there has been a shift in that sense, if you can say. And as we know that, all, like, the pandemic has deeply impacted all the sector, However, don't get influenced by everything you read and hear. Like, while industries are dealing with this situation, there are a lot of lucrative opportunities for freshers like you, and it is only going to get better from here. Like, the number of startups are increasing in India, like, drastically, like after Silicon Valley. Like, it is like, I feel India is the place to be at right now at this level. And for those of you, like, so I will start for like the place, like, for before I start with the what is important in the interview, for the interview process, like data structures, algorithms, and all of that stuff. I would like to share a very small instance of my, like, personal experience during my placement season. And this is especially for all of you people, like all of those people who have faced rejections in their life. I have a very small experience to share with you. So it goes something like this. On day zero of our placement season, where, like, for those of you who don't know day zero is like basically the first day of the placement season, where all the big companies come in for placements, and like a lot of students get placed. Like, it's the top, like all the top companies come in. So there was this leading startup that came in to play, like, for placement, and it was 12 o'clock in the midnight. So I had been giving interviews and tests since like 7:30 a.m. in the morning. And it was like more than 15 hours. Like, it was 12 o'clock in the night. And I entered the room for my final interview in that particular startup. And there were only four of us left. Okay. And in the end, like, after giving that interview, they chose three in the end, and I was not one of them. So on the very first day of my placement, I faced the first rejection of my life. Like, it was actually the first, and it was the biggest. Like, and after bracing through all the tough rounds, messing it up in those final 5 minutes, like, I regretted it a lot. Like, it was the biggest regret I had in the fourth year, and it was like huge, like, downfall for me. Like, I felt really low after that. But after that, like, 10 days into the placement season, getting rejected in quite a few rounds, I finally got placed at Bizongo. Okay. And even then, for the entire, like, for almost the entire year, I used to regret not getting placed at day zero. And you know what? Like, there is a saying that everything happens for a good reason. And actually, I have actually experienced that. Like, I have actually experienced the same, because, like, exactly 2 weeks before our joining dates, I got to know that the company that at which I was rejected had revoked all their offers. And like, that was it. Like, see, so me not getting placed at that, but I was like kind of regretting it for the entire year. um, didn't make, like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just believed in myself and like moved on, although it didn't impact me for getting placed at Bizongo. But see, so this is my like small advice to all of you who have faced rejections, who face rejections. It's a part and parcel of life. Like, it's something that you need to live with. So just believe in yourself, take everything in a positive stride, and just keep learning from your failures. That is the biggest learning that you can ever get, learning from your failures. So that was my kind of like small experience for all, like, before I started talking about some interview preparation, because this is very important. Like, people nowadays actually like feel really low after getting rejected in companies, and it is a part of life. You need to move on with that. So yeah, so this is something that I wanted to share about my placement season. But the main thing that comes in the placement season is also um, data structures and algorithms. Like, people ask me, and like the even I keep on realizing this every single day, that what exactly do companies want. And even when at the time of my placement, even at right like even right now, it is only one thing that is actually very, very important for people who are actually in the bracket of 0 to 2 years of experience, and that is data structures and algorithms. So in the 0 to 2 years of experience, right? Like any company that comes for hiring does not look for people who are very proficient in any given tech stack or have a lot of projects under their hood. While all of this does give an advantage, like added advantage to you for all of those who have these under their belt. But mind you, for those of you who don't, like, don't worry too much. Like, first, just get those fundamentals about data structures and algorithm clear, because data structures and algorithm is something that you cannot ignore. No matter which company you go, that is the thing that companies look for in a candidate. So companies look for people with good logical ability and analytical thinking. They don't want people who are like very proficient in a given tech stack, but not very good at like any logical thinking or like any analytical skills. Because given any problem statement, that person will not be able to solve it with that efficiency, even though he might know that tech stack very well. Tech stack is something that you can catch up with very easily. So a company will prefer to hire a person with good logical thinking and good analytical skills uh, over a person who knows any tech stack but is not very good at analytical skills or logical thinking. And that is where uh, the company this thing about company comes in, that they look for employees that are trainable, like people who are good at logical thinking and analytical thinking. They can be trained very easily. So like this is like my gist of like what exactly is the importance of data structures and algorithms. And no matter which company you apply to, data structures and algorithms is going to be a very integral part of your application, of your entire interview process. So yeah, that's mainly it. The introduction kind of stretched on a little bit. um, yeah.
This was quite interesting, and it was very interesting how you were sharing your experience with being rejected at some point of time. Which brings me to my first question, and that is, a lot of students keep facing, rejections at a lot of points of times. Do you have a process through which you kind of move ahead of it, moved on with it, and tried to focus on other opportunities at the same point of time?
So honestly, it took me a while, but I always believe that like every failure is can make you way better than what you were before. For example, a person who has just succeeded in their life never knows the for example, a person who has always succeeded all throughout their life does not know the importance of being failed and like learning from their failures. So learning from your failures is the only thing that a candidate should look into. Even if you are rejected in an interview, you should just ask for the feedback. If you know that the interview went bad and they will reject me, just ask them like what went bad and how you could have done better at it. Almost all interviewers right now will give you the honest feedback. Like even I have for candidates whom I have taken interviews, in the end even I have given them some positive feedbacks for in order for them to improve themselves. Because not everything is about just for as an interview, I just don't care about like just hiring that person. So I also want them to get better in their life. So if there's something that I can give, I can give them as feedback, then so be it. Like I'll definitely do that. So learning from the failures, like just make a list of what all went wrong with you in that particular interview and where you could have worked more hard. Like just do that. And that is the small thing that you should think about. For that failure, you should not think about anything else but those few points, and just move on. Just forget about it, forget about that interview that happened, and just like move on. Life moves on.
I feel this tickle to add a little bit to that. And that is, or just make sure that you're constantly giving your mock interviews that your team is behind. Cool. So,
Yeah.
we have one question from our audience. Ansad Ahmad wants to know, is there a way to give interviews in a company without an aptitude round? How is the placement process like with startups?
So I wouldn't say that like so aptitude round okay, so I'll just break this down into two questions. Without aptitude round, if you're referring to aptitude round as in like not the data structures part but just mental aptitude or something like that, then yeah, like that portion I don't think that matters as much. But data structures and algorithms round is the first round is always about that. No one is ever going to jump into any kind of tech stack in the first round. And even so, having said that, I already mentioned like in the 0 to 2 years of experience, it is almost like even if you are like 1.5 years of experience or 1 year of experience, they won't expect you to know the tech stack very deeply. Like you have just 1 years of experience. Like people have been working on the tech stack for years right now. So what they look at is like given a problem statement, like is he able to solve using all the data structures, like using any kind of algorithm. So given any problem statement, is he going to solve that? So that is the only thing. That is why data structures and algorithms is important. It is not something that you mug up and just like give it in the interview. So that is not like data structures and algorithms is a very broad very broad field. Like it is not a field. Like it's just a way of saying that given these data structures and giving any problem statement, can you use them to solve this? So if you can do that, like I think the company will like just be happy with it, like, and you can just proceed to the next round.
Awesome. Ravneet, I'll come to the startup related questions in a short bit. But before that, I want to ask you something about data structures and algorithms. A lot of students have often, portrayed their fear when it comes to data structures and algorithms. We've seen a lot of students who say that, "Ma'am, DA से नहीं करना है, मतलब वो नहीं होगा." And there are a lot of students who have certain apprehensions when it comes to their confidence with data structures and algorithms. What is that one advice you would give to these students as to how they can work around their fear and become better, become pro at DS?
So see, like the fear of dark can only be like removed by going into the dark. So if you are like fearing data structures and algorithms, you need to spend more time with it. Like you need to get to the core fundamentals. And the only advice I give like to anyone who is aspiring to be a good developer, and if he is not very good at data structures and algorithms, so I just say this to him, that start with very easy questions. Solve like 10, 20 very easy questions, like very very simple questions. Get your motivation high, because coding is something that can make you demotivated very quickly. And if like even a person me can get demotivated very quickly if I'm not able to solve a question right now. So for anyone who gets demotivated, like for compared like in DSA, he should just spend more time with it. Solve like start at the basic, like start at the root level, solve very easy questions, get their motivation up, and get those concepts clear. Because the more number of questions you will solve, the faster your hands will work and the faster your brain will comprehend all the concepts, and like clearer they will become.
Right. Coming back to the startup related questions, uh, one very basic question is to try to find out the difference that there is in working with startups and working with bigger organizations, bigger brands, bigger companies. What is that difference?
So this is a very subjective question. Like the difference actually depends on company to company. There are a lot of startups who work a lot like MNCs, where you feel like you're not able to add any, like maybe you're not able, maybe you feel that you're not able to add any business value to the company. But at the same time, there are a lot of MNCs who work like startups, and where the level of responsibility, ownership, and accountability given to any like individual is same like in a startup. And if your next question is like, what is the best thing that you like about startups, then this would be it. Like, and this is the key difference also that I personally feel, that the level of responsibility, ownership, and accountability in a startup is way more than in a given MNC, and you are able to directly add to the like add business value to the company. So for once, like I cannot say a lot about MNCs, but only that much what I've heard from my friends working at those companies. But personally, the number of opportunities that I have gotten here at my startup is tremendous, such that my learning curve has almost been exponential since the day I have joined here. And the level of trust also has been very great, like giving me such big projects in the very beginning of my career. Like that is something that I can only foresee happening in a startup.
Now that you've taken one of my questions, I want to come to another one, which says, you just said that, the learning curve has been exponential, and how is what is the difference, or maybe from people that you've heard from, what difference can you make in the career graph of someone who's starting out with a startup, and someone who's directly going into an MNC?
So actually, first of all, like MNCs have some of the MNCs are very like have quite defined policies, and like all of those things, like policies and rules regarding that, like ladder, like leadership ladder, like how to grow in a like MNC. So growing in an MNC is a little difficult and time consuming than in a startup. Like startup gives you tremendous opportunities, like to grow like in your initial years itself. Like that kind of opportunity cannot just happen in an MNC. But also like will like exactly, it does not depend on that only. It actually depends on a lot on the role also that is offered to you. So sometimes you might be offered a very small role in a very big company, and whereas like you might like at the other hand you might be offered a very big role at a small company. So the learning curve at a like at the smaller company is way more than a learning curve at the bigger company, because in the smaller company, end to end, like you are able to develop yourself, and the learning is way more than the other role. So it actually depends on that also.
Right. That makes complete sense. We have another question here from Rishabh Sharma. He's very interestingly asked, "Hi, sir. How's your experience been working with a startup so far?" He has multiple questions to follow up, as in, what are the regular working hours that you are putting up, and what do they expect from a fresher when it comes to the tech stack?
So, so the working hours and all is like it actually totally depends on the startup to startup. Like you just cannot define that in today's like you cannot generalize that for every startup. But as I personally feel, like not only startups but also a lot of MNCs like are trying to be very flexible in terms of working hours. The common notion is that startups are more flexible in terms of working hours, and having worked previously at the startup only, so I can vouch for that. Then yeah, like in terms of that, like that is very good. And what was the other question?
The other question is that, what is the expectation that they have from a fresher when it comes to their tech stack?
Yeah. So in a startup, like when I joined Bizongo, I was given plenty of time to like build strong, solid foundation for for the tech stack that like that they were working on. So for example, React JS was something that I picked up when I started working at Bizongo. And I was at the same time, like I was given plenty of opportunity to make my like fundamentals strong, having prior experience in development, like programming. So it didn't take a lot of time for me to catch it up. And like within a few weeks, I was given that responsibility. The level of responsibility was high. Like they did not consider me as a like fresher or someone who does not know React. they gave a problem statement and they expected me to solve it, and they had that kind of trust. So since the time I have joined here, like I have that kind of I have that kind of trust, and that is very good. Like as much you can learn a lot if you have that kind of trust from your company, because then you are given those kind of projects, you're given those kind of work, and the quality is good, and like your learning automatically increases exponentially, as I've already mentioned. So the expectation, like even though the level of trust and level like accountability, ownership, all of that is there, but the expectation from day one is not to build something very something as good as a senior developer. They know that you are a fresher, you will take time for like to get hands-on experience on something. So that kind of time is also given, so the expectation and everything is kind of pretty balanced out, and
Okay.
that would be the case in most of the startups, I personally feel.
Yeah, that does make complete sense. Now that we're talking about freshers and we're talking about newbies and people who are aspiring really hard to become a part of the startup culture, what is that one advice you would give to these people to hustle hard and become a part of this paradigm?
Advice. Okay. So keep learning, keep upskilling, and there are tons of opportunities out there. Like there is a lot of good, crazy stuff happening out there. Just try to make the best out of any and every situation possible. If you have that urge to learn, then there is nothing that can stop you from becoming better. And once you get that urge, you yourselves will be taking initiatives to learn new things. Be it from be it as small a thing as learning from PR reviews of your colleagues, or inquisitively asking your colleagues on how they implemented that feature and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my advice to them.
Awesome, awesome. This has been super insightful, Ravneet, and I'm sure that all our viewers have been super intrigued with what you've just shared with us. Thanks for joining us today, and hope to keep in.
Thanks, Gopi. Thanks a lot.